Hello, everyone, and welcome to On Purpose Astrology. I'm going to be talking about the new moon in Cancer today, and I think this new moon is really needed. Need is a good word for the sign of Cancer. It's been a little while since I recorded and posted a video. Things have been very intense in my world, and I think in the world in general, so I needed to take a little bit of a break to reset. I've called this video about this new moon in Cancer, Rest, Nourish and Reset. As we know, and as I always say, the new moon is the start of the monthly lunar cycle. So we have a new moon about once a month, once every just over 4 weeks. And it's a time to rest, it's a time to reset, it's a time to plan. It's a time to nourish in particular with this new moon in Cancer. Let's have a look at the chart and then we can talk through some of the major themes here. So you can see at the top of this chart, 4 degrees of Cancer, 4 degrees and 7 minutes of Cancer, we have the conjunction of the moon and the sun. As I said, it's the start of the new cycle. It's the dark of the moon. It's where we are, as I've already said, encouraged to rest and recharge. We don't know everything. We don't know exactly what's going to unfold during this particular lunar cycle. But we can take the themes of Cancer, for this one in particular, to think about how some of the themes might manifest in our world and in our lives. So, fresh beginnings. This reset, it's an emotional reset. Cancer is a water sign. Cancer is about protection and defense. Now, there's a lot of stuff going on in the world that's always reflected in the astrology, of course, about protection and defense, as the world seems to be quite a dangerous place at the moment. So we might be thinking generally, but it might be time to have a good think about it during this new moon. Think about our comfort zone, where we feel comfortable and where we feel safe. I'm not predicting any danger here, but I think that emotional reset might be having something to do with where do we feel comfortable? Where physically do we feel comfortable? In our home, who do we feel comfortable with? Our families. Cancer is about families, or maybe it's a family that we have chosen, whether that's the partner and whether it's your friends. Where do we need to better nourish and nurture ourselves, and also nourish and nurture others, but protect our boundaries so we're not overgiving the nurturing of others so we're exhausted, overextending ourselves. And I say that because you can see here that this new moon is tightly conjunct Jupiter. Now, Jupiter in Cancer, it's a good sign. It's a good sign for Cancer. It's in traditional astrology known as exalted. It's celebrated. So Jupiter adds strength to this new moon. And of course, the moon is its most comfortable. We're talking about comfort. The moon is at its most comfortable in Cancer anyway. So there's a lot of good stuff, a lot of good opportunity. Jupiter brings opportunity for this emotional reset. It's also a good time to review your goals and your intentions. Are they in line with your vision? Jupiter, vision, that's another key word for Jupiter, is having a vision for where you want to go. Are your goals and intentions in your best interests or in the best interests of your family or your group as well, if you're thinking more collectively? It's also a good time to meditate on or to reflect upon releasing old memories, particularly difficult memories from the past, things that happened in the past that you might wish to let go of now. What can you forgive or what can you release at this time? Jupiter, as I said, that brings faith and optimism and enthusiasm, but as I've already said, don't take on too much. As always, that new moon is a time really to just take a little step back, to have that confidence in going forward, to have that enthusiasm for what comes next, and to have some faith and trust in what comes next is important. But to take your time and watch as this lunar cycle, this month, just under a month long lunar cycle, unfolds itself. So, what might be the things to look out for? Well, because Jupiter's there, obviously Jupiter is exalted. You can easily, when Jupiter is strong in a chart, you can easily overstretch, as I've already said, overindulge potentially. If you're comfort eating, for example, maybe expecting too much, expecting things to be great and then feeling a little bit disappointed. Time to contemplate your relationship with family and roots as well. I talked earlier about protecting boundaries. If we look at the world in general, there's a lot of news about countries breaching the boundaries of other countries. There's wars going on in Ukraine, in Gaza, the recent conflict between Israel and Iran, and America's involvement in that. So that's something to watch. So if we can emotionally reset, if we can rejuvenate ourselves during this new moon, particularly on the emotional level, then we are going to be better served to just to sort of cope and handle things. You know, if you're affected by some of these world events, for example, you know, my heart goes out to you, and it's very difficult. But those of us who are distanced from it and watching it on the news might still feel upset. So, water. Water's important. Water is nourishing. Water is, Cancer is a water sign. One of the good things that you can do to help nourish yourself is to drink lots of good filtered water, to bathe, to shower, to be near water. Water, ironically, can be quite grounding. And again, I always say to ground, particularly as Cancer is about the emotions and how we protect our emotions and how we defend against our emotions or defend ourselves against the emotions of others. So water is quite grounding. So when you're become emotionally overwhelmed, potentially, as I say, Jupiter's there, even though it's a benefic influence generally. If you become emotionally overwhelmed, put yourself back in your body, breathe, breathe and feel your body, feel your feet on the ground or even in the water. And imagine roots going down, 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 down to connect you to Mother Earth and to Gaia. Another process that you can do once you've grounded is, as I said, breathing, taking sort of slow breaths, 1, 2, 3, 4, hold for 1, 2, 3, 4, exhale for 1, 2, 3, 4, and so on. Hold for 1, 2, 3, 4, and then repeat the process called box or square breathing. And that, after a few rounds of that for a few minutes, that takes you out of that emotional overwhelm back into your body, and it lets your the theory is it lets your parasympathetic nervous system, that nervous system, part of your nervous system that invites you to rest and rejuvenate. So that's always a good practice at all times when you need it, but also during a new moon to help you with that rest and rejuvenation. The other thing I talked about is that it's a very protective sign, is Cancer. So once you've done the grounding, once you've done a little bit of breathing, it's nice to do a little bit of clearing and self-protection. Simple to do, very simple to do energetically. All you need to do is basically just ask the question, just ask. If you have a spiritual practice and you work with angels or your guides, or even if you don't, just sort of ask, sort of say, you know, for the highest good, please come in. Please kind of clear some of this emotional energy that might make me feel uncomfortable, not comfortable. You want to feel comfortable during this new moon. Clear some of this energy. And then just imagine and visualize or imagine or feel whatever works best for you. We all experience these things slightly differently. Just imagine that some of these emotions are just kind of washing away. You can visualize water or even do this under the shower, visualize water just washing away some of this stuff, some of this emotional stuff that you don't need. And you might feel lighter afterwards. You might feel nothing. You might feel lighter. You might feel breathe more easily. And then afterwards, invite again for the highest and best good with grace and ease. Invite spirit or the divine or the energy of Gaia, the energy that whatever you work with, invite that to come and just put you in a lovely protective bubble of white light or golden light or diamond white light, whatever feels good for you. And that can be quite helpful during this time. One more thing as well, that this is good for releasing old memories and old emotions into that, releasing old emotions that you don't need anymore. You can always say when you, if you do this process, if you do it, you can always say, just please release any old emotions and old memories. Cancer is about memories, and the moon is about memories. Any old memories, any old emotions that I don't need anymore, that are holding me back. That's hopefully some really interesting and really useful things to do during this new moon. Now, this new moon is square it's square the Saturn Neptune conjunction, the ongoing Saturn Neptune conjunction. So if you want to use that in a productive or helpful way, perhaps it's about practical creativity, unique ideas. Uranus is at 29. Uranus here is at 29 of Taurus. My next video will be about Uranus going into Gemini. So that has something to do with how intense this period, this few weeks, few months have been. Whenever a sign is right at the end, it gets very intense, unpredictability. But it's in a sextile here to Mercury in Cancer. So with Mercury in Cancer in sextile to Uranus, there's a great creativity that's available there. And also we can use this Saturn Neptune for practical creativity as well. So think creatively would be something. And that can also help along with working with sort of releasing some difficult emotions or just finding your comfort zone and where you feel safe and where you feel like you belong. Belonging is another key word for Cancer as well. Where do I belong? You might be thinking, where do I belong? Well, if you're here on planet Earth, you belong here. You're here for a reason. So try not to feel like you don't belong. Your family, your clan, your group of friends, your community is out there, even if you're not connected with it right now. The other thing that's happening in this chart as well is another sextile to, this one is to the new moon itself from Mars. So pay attention to your own moods. Pay attention to your self-talk, the self-critic in your head. What's it telling you? Is it being negative? Try and flip those negativity. I say this because Mars is the angry planet, but it's also the planet of action. It's the planet of desire and what you want. Do you want to listen to your inner critic? Because Mars isn't great positioned in Virgo, so it might be your inner critic coming out at this time. It might be these difficult, possibly even traumatic memories, as I've already mentioned, coming up. Do you want to listen to the negative self-talk, or do you want to talk to yourself kindly and be kind to yourself? Don't forget, when emotions come up, they come up for a reason. They're not there to be just like denied. They're real. Our emotions are real. But using those processes, such as the one I've talked about, the breathing, the grounding, doing a little bit of clearing, and maybe even a bit of gratitude, that always helps as well. Maybe even thanking those difficult thoughts that might be coming up, those difficult emotions that are coming up. Thank them because they're messages. And then work with them to release them and heal them if they're ready to release, if they're ready to be healed. Don't get stuck in negative mindsets. So I really, 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 really hope this helps. One more thing, as I say, with Jupiter there, you might have some big emotional realizations, some kind of, oh, eureka moments even. It might help to see things more clearly, to feel things more clearly. So overall, I think this is a very, very much needed and very, very positive new moon if we can use the positivity in a good way. And finally, just want to mention, let me just stop sharing. Just want to mention my new book that has recently come out. It's actually, you can see it backwards, but it's called The On Purpose Life, Your Guide to Finding and Living Your Life Purpose, by myself, Mandy Lockley. Mandy spelt with an I at the end rather than a Y at the end, and you can find it on Amazon in paperback and in Kindle. It's a really lovely book. It took me 3 years to write because I was going through the process that I set out in this book. I didn't know this is what I was doing at the time when I started writing it, but as I started writing it, I developed a really easy to follow process of finding out what your life purpose is. What is life purpose? What it isn't? How do we move into purpose? And then how do we raise our vibration to better meet the higher manifestation of purpose? And then how do we act upon it? How do we create our vision and how do we set goals? It's all in here. As I say, some of it is my story, but it's not a memoir at all. I use my story to help you. So there's lots of exercises. As I say, there's a process that you can put yourself through that's very simple, very easy. And there are lots of tools. And as I said, and exercises. So the On Purpose Life. Thank you so much for watching and thank you so much for listening. Lots of love as always. Thank you. Bye-bye.